Wow. It's that jingle on the hump day, David.
Yes.
You know, I think what's absolutely amazing is in 30 seconds in the green room that me showing up late as usual, not having any clear, concise ideas to come rant about, that you have to go dig and dig and dig and find something that was just recently leaked out to one news network, which is starting to get some pretty big legs. You know, everyone remember the Russia hoax, Comey and Brennan,
No.
the two guys. Well, you know, David likes to always yell at me for digging in deep about trying to Google and chat GPT and find out information on history that my 54-year-old brain just can't retain. But the term commie is something that was used when David and I were growing out. There were communists. And the term commie is actually in relation to a very famous CIA guy called John Brennan, to his vote for the Communist Party, USA presidential candidate in 1976. Now, why am I bringing this up, David? Because in 2017, you have Brennan and Comey, who are the two guys orchestrating the Russian hoax. Now, how do I know this happened? Is because this was information released by the CIA on his polygraph test. And in his polygraph test, he froze when this part of the conversation came up. So Brennan, who later became the director of the CIA, was undergoing a security process, and this is his history. So you take a guy who wants to vote for Gus Hall in 1976, and now he's head of the CIA. Now, let's flash forward. The guy that sets up the Russia hoax is the guy that votes for the Communist Party. Like, I can't make this shit up, David. Like, I would never have, like, my head's exploding over this, you know? And so what's coming to light now is that Fox News just got released a note that the FBI is now investigating these two clowns for what, David? Russia hoax. Welcome, everybody, to the Rant Network. It's a go-to podcast. It's unapologetic. Definitely going to shock David. And my name's Stuart Brisgell. That's David Solomon. We tackle a diverse range of topics with very candid conversation, never recorded, always unedited. And let me tell you something. We're breaking down headlines before they're actually headlines. So grab a seat, settle in for hopefully another insightful rant. David, that's like mind-blowing that this guy is the guy who voted for Gary Hall, the head of this communist party, is the sole guy is involved in this whole Russia hoax. I mean, the world never knew about this. This didn't make any 2016, 17, 18. It hasn't made any single paper yet. How is that possible?
Well, because Stuart, look, okay, I think that we're off here a little bit because it isn't the point. Okay, that John Brennan is voted once for a communist in 1976, 40, 50 years ago. I mean, like, there's a certain point where I'm going, okay, yeah. I don't know about his other stuff that he's done with communists and whatever. What I'm pissed off about is that about 9 years ago, 8 years ago, that the United States, the media, Democrats ran with a massive lie. The idea was that this so-called party that is screaming and yelling that democracy is being threatened has once again lied profusely to the population, not just to the United States, to the world. And now we're hearing that Comey and Brennan both used twisted information in order to come to a false conclusion of Russia's involvement. Now, I'm just going to read this. The investigation came as declassified, a quote-unquote lessons learned review of the creation of the 2017 Intelligence Community Assessment, alleged that Russia sought to influence the 2016 presidential election to help then Donald Trump. But the review found that the process was rushed with procedural anomalies and that officials diverted from intelligence standards. It also determined that the, quote, decision by agency heads to include the Steele dossier The Steele dossier, by the way, is an anti-Trump document filled with unverified and wholly inaccurate claims that was commissioned by Fusion GPS and paid for by, drumroll please, Democrat presidential candidate Hillary Clinton's campaign and the Democratic National Congress. Essentially, what they said, it ran counter to fundamental tradecraft principles and ultimately undermined the credibility of a key judgment. Bottom line is that right now, this is the last night around 6 o'clock, they made this announcement. This kind of came out. They're not the FBI, not the CIA is commenting, but what you're seeing here is it stinks. And once again, what stinks here is the politicization of government. So here we are. This is supposed to be a non-political body. And in history, we've seen this numerous times where the FBI and the CIA was used for political purposes. And once again, here it is, where an Obama-led, group, this is it. Obama's leaving office after 8 years. He's filled up the CIA and the FBI with his cronies, with his followers. And now it's all about how do we twist an election so that you can win, the Democrats can win, Hillary Clinton can win an election. And it's fascinating, Stuart, because the same people who screamed voter rights in Georgia, oh, you can't go in there with voter ID. I mean, like, it's a nonsensical thing, but how dare you offend voters because they can't go in without ID. They can't prove that they're Americans. That's okay. You can let immigrants in as much as you want and they can vote illegally. That's okay. That you fudge all kinds of things. And then you wonder why Trump is sitting here going that the election was rigged in 2016 and 2020. And it's just amazing how the left, the Democrats, continue to scream and yell and point the finger at the people that they're accusing of the crimes that they're committing. And it is a crime. And I would love to see right now Comey and Brennan brought down in handcuffs because what they have done is criminal. And I'd like to see Hillary Clinton in handcuffs because she's a criminal. And I'd like to see, now I'm sick and tired of hearing, well, Donald Trump was, look what we did to Donald Trump. Trump went to court and Trump is a criminal. Yes, once again, you politicize the judicial system in order to try to create this scenario. And yet the media hasn't run with it because, Stuart, you looked it up. It's not being run in a lot of these other media platforms. Once again, this is all about politicization of the news. Comey ran with a book and he's like, he goes after Trump and he's a media darling. And now when you see that the guy is really, could be a criminal, it could be what he's done was criminal, crickets. Once again, by the Democrats and the left.
And what's funny is GOP lawmakers are accusing Brennan now publicly as of literally up front is that even DeSantis way back when called him a communist party during the Cold War, and he lacked credibility in being able to be impartial. I gotta tell you that. Ask me if I'm surprised, David.
Oh, geez, are you? That's a rhetorical question.
I just looked it up on Reuters, and it's nowhere on Reuters. It's nowhere on the internet. It is a conversation that isn't even happening. And you know what? It didn't come to us first, but I make you bet we're one of the first that are bringing up that the guy that's in charge of the Russia host is the guy who's actually a member of the Communist Party in America.
I still think I love when you do this because this is great. But you know what? If let's just say, let's go run with this for just a second, that this guy was and still has communist inklings in him. Let's pretend, right? Isn't this the guy who's supposed to protect the United States of America? Didn't he?
Well, he swore.
He swore his allegiance to the United States to protect her, and here we are. You're telling me that your way of protecting the United States is to integrate communism into the country, that you use Russia to scare people only to bring in what Russia espouses. Okay, you got me on that one.
And by the way, it just broke into Reuters, so I take that back. It just did.
Okay, well,
and I got to tell you, it's very light. FBI launched a criminal probe into former CIA Director John Brennan and former FBI Director James Comey, Digital News reports. The probe alleges wrongdoing related to past government investigations about claims about Russian interference in the 2016. Again, you know, wow. If this was any other party member from the left, this would be like, oh my God.
Well, look,
They would be blowing the phone up.
Look how much coverage. Look how much coverage anybody around Donald Trump back in this term one now, and then even in his election campaign, anybody who was around the Trump campaign, anybody who was even alleged of anything, it got massive news. I mean, Stormy Daniels, like, give me a break. Like, this was what the media was looking for, right? A prostitute, or not a prostitute. Sorry, she's not a prostitute. She was a porn star. Like, that was the big deal, right? But in the meantime, what does the left do?
What does the left?
Brennan is hired by MSNBC, and then and excuse me, and everybody's like extolling this guy. And this is the thing, is that anybody who was anti-Trump gets a job on the left. Everyone. And it's just fascinating to watch. So here is John Brennan, all of a sudden, hey, let's give him a high five, because he's anti-Trump. He was going to try to take down Trump. You watch it from whether it's the media, or even former director of national intelligence James Clapper. All of these people were there to smear Trump. All of these people went out to try to take down Trump. Yep. Clapper gets a job at CNN. This is what this is all about. It's let's spray and spread the falsehoods, the lies, the nonsense, the misdirection. And while you're doing that, watch what the Democrats are doing. They're telling you that Trump is an autocrat, that Trump is getting rid of his political enemies. What do autocrats do? They get rid of their enemies. What are the Democratic Party doing right now? Getting rid of their enemies. Everything the Democrats accuse the Republicans of doing, they're doing, Stuart. This is the left today, my friend. This is how the left works. Whatever they do, they accuse you. They have the media complicit to continue to fight and spread the propaganda. Because tell me which platform didn't run with the Russia hoax? Which one? Because they all went after Trump. They all wanted to see Trump eliminated. And to this day, we're, Stuart, I'll tell you a funny quick story. On Monday, I went to go visit a dear friend whose brother passed away, and we're talking to a bunch of people there. And there's a gentleman there sitting there, and he says, "Anybody but Trump." And I just looked at him. I said, "How come?" Not because I'm loving Trump. And again, everything that came out of his mouth, CNN. Every word, you can, even the innuendo. And and he breaks up, and this is before this comes out. And he says, "Well, you know that he colluded with the Russians." And I said, "Well, how do you know that he colluded with the Russians?" "Well, that's what I heard." "Well, where did you hear that?" "I don't remember." "I could tell you where you heard that, sir. You heard it in media, because CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, NBC, they all ran with it nonstop. So all you heard in 2016, 17 was Russia collusion." "Oh, no, that couldn't be it." "So what is it?" "I can't remember." So this is what the left has done. They've brainwashed people. They've put lies in their heads, and they're hoping by the next election they don't get voted in again.
David, I gotta tell you, I welcome going to parties and finding people, not necessarily funerals, but at the end of the day, here is the bottom line. The Democrats have weaponized the judicial system, just like Russia weaponizes its judicial system. The Democrats have weaponized the media, just like the communists weaponized media. And I'm going to say this once and one more final time. It's no longer the 1960 Kennedy Democratic Party. It is now United Socialist Democratic Party of America, which is an abbreviation for the Communist Party of America. That's what the Democratic Party has become. And if you think it's become anything else, you're just a dodo bird or an ostrich with your head in the sand. David, wrapping up.
Dodo bird. Dodo bird. That's what I'm going to remember from today's rant, Stuart.
Dodo bird with crickets in the air. It's that sound. This brings this rant to an end every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, noon Eastern. David and I take it down on the Rant Network for a live podcast that's always fostering open, honest, thought-provoking conversation. Don't forget, we're here for you. PM us, like us, love us, hate us. We take it all. Doesn't really matter. The clicks, the reels, there are thousands upon thousands of views. Thank you. And some of the comments are just epic. We hope to catch you again real soon. Got any comments, questions, or ideas? Send them off to us. We'll listen. Maybe.